just looking to the right here where I can see the attendees coming into our chat room here. So welcome everybody. We're just going to take a few minutes just to give people time to log in, but I can see there's plenty of you logging in to be with us for today's webinar, which is great. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So today is, what are we on, the 4th of January. So I'm getting a bit muddled up already. So look, there's lots of you here. Diane, Sarah, Sam, Leanne, Tracy, Kate, Joanne. It's good to see some familiar names here. To the right here, so I'm just going to turn this off into our chat room here. So welcome everybody. Okay, so I'm just making sure I've got a computer here just to see that things are working. This is only my second ever webinar, so do bear with me if the technology goes a bit skew-whiff or if I get a bit tongue-tied. Webinars are going to feature a lot this year as a way of sharing ideas, and we're also going to be doing some e-coaching this way, particularly via the Clubhouse, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about later. So we're at 1 minute past, so I'm just going to give people a few more minutes to arrive. Hello, Hannah and Shona and Eva and Heidi. Liz, good to see you. Lots of familiar faces here. So I'm really, really excited about the next hour. I guess the reason that I decided to do something on goal setting is quite obvious. At this time of year, we do focus on the next few months, and often we set New Year's resolutions. And some of you might have seen via the blog earlier this week that I wrote a blog post that said why resolutions like diets don't work. And I guess I want to expand a little bit on that and take you with me on this kind of journey to kind of set some really, really ambitious goals for you. So as I said, it's going to be about an hour, so make sure you've got a cup of tea or some water, and also a pen and some paper, because I am going to get you to do some stuff, but don't worry, it's not that scary. We've got potentially the opportunity for you guys to ask questions, so do feel free to give comments. The more interactive you guys are, the easier it is for me. And also, we will stop at various points and I will ask you to do some tasks. So, bear with me. Hopefully, the next hour will be fun. I am going to be using PowerPoint, so I hope it doesn't feel like being back at school or something. But I tried to make it a little bit vibrant. But I like to use it as a kind of a nudge for me. So, okay, so we're at 3 minutes past. There may be some latecomers, but as I said, feel free to kind of jump in. And I'm going to start off with a poll, because what I want to know is, let's have a look, start the poll. Have you set your goals? So have you got a firm idea in your mind as to what you want to achieve this year? So let me know and we'll have a look at that kind of at the end of it. But I'm going to try and work out how we get to my PowerPoint, so bear with me. It's all rather exciting, so let's see kind of how this happens. Okay, so yes, I think we're there. I can let's have a look. Okay, so hopefully you can't see me and instead you can see the PowerPoint. So if anyone is kind of able to just let me know that they can see what they should be seeing. Let's have a look. So what we're going to be looking at today, setting big, fat, stupid goals. And I'm going to explain to you why I call them that a little bit later. I'm currently writing a book, which I'm hoping will get published later this year. And one of the chapters is around setting these big, fat, stupid goals. It's how I've got into doing what I'm doing for a living and how I got to run my first marathon. And I think there's something in it in terms of, making sure that you do, I guess, reach your potential. So we're going to be looking at, are you thinking big enough? Because quite often we don't want to fail. We don't want to set ourselves up to fail. So we think, no, just a small goal and then we'll move on from that. We're also going to look at why I think it's okay to be reckless, which is slightly different from being, completely stupid and wrecking your body and stuff like that. So, And part of that is around setting massive milestones. So we'll look at what those are. Having a good support team. The fact that you guys are here as part of this webinar says it all, really. You know, we are building a fantastic support team at the Fat Girls Guide to Running. I think it's really important that you can visualize success. If you don't know what success looks like, how do you know that that goal is worth fighting for? So I think doing some really early thinking about what success looks like for you is really important. What to do if it all goes wrong. Today, you would not imagine what has gone wrong. I woke up with a cold sore, the printer stopped working, you know, anything that could have gone wrong today has gone wrong, but I found a way around it, which is why I'm going to be relying on PowerPoint so that you don't have to look at my ugly face all the time. And having a then what plan. So after you've achieved your great goal, what do you do then? You know, and can you be a change maker for others? It wasn't my goal when I set out to inspire other people, but it kind of has happened that way. So I guess I want you to look at, you know, why have your goals not worked before? So surely every year you set yourself goals. You know, it might be New Year's resolutions, or it might be kind of, you know, goals. Why do you think it is that, you know, why have your goals not worked before? And I bet you in the top of your mind somewhere, you're thinking this word, smart, because that is what we're told, particularly in a work environment. You know, it's management speak. Your goals must be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now, let's put it this way. If my goals had been smart back in 2005, when I decided I wanted to run a marathon, I probably wouldn't have achieved it, because there was nothing achievable about me running that marathon, that first marathon. And it was definitely not realistic. But some people would say that only fools set goals that are not smart. So I've had a bit of fun today with that acronym. And I think partly the reason that your goals may not have worked before is because of fear, or that others have held you back. You know, sometimes you feel like the opportunity has been taken away because something else has happened in your life. And it might be that you've got a lack of belief in yourself. And, you know, we're all kind of, we can all hold our hands up and say that there has been times where we've stopped when it has got tough. So, I mean, over to you. Why do you think your goals have not worked before? And let's have a look if we can see any of this. There is a slight delay in what you see on your screen and what's kind of coming up to me. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm asking specifically why you think your goals have not worked before. Let's see if anybody is responding. We may not be able to do this Q&A. Maybe there's a slightly too long kind of gap on it. So maybe I'll go on to kind of my next slide. It's about kind of, are you thinking big enough? So, you know, if we use me as an example, back in 2005, this is a picture of me here. I was close to 20 stone, couldn't run, didn't do any exercise really, maybe the odd swimming session. And I decided that I was going to run the marathon in 2012. And this was partly because I was working as a project manager on the games, and I wanted to use the games to inspire me. That was a huge goal. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why I decided that I wanted to be that big. And I didn't even know how I would do it. I wasn't part of a running group. I hadn't read any books about running. I didn't have a plan. But I understood even then, you know, that over 10 years ago, that I would have to make steps towards doing that. And one of the first steps that I did was I went to a boot camp. And this is a photo of me on the first day of boot camp. And it was a shock to my system, you know, to do those kind of things. But I guess the thing is, when you need to change your life so significantly, I guess you do need to think big. You know, and I've never been very good at balance. I'm a kind of all or nothing kind of person. And it's not just with my running, all aspects of my life. So growing up, nobody from my family went to university. And I decided that I was going to go, you know, come from a working class single parent family, wasn't very academic, to be quite honest, but I really enjoyed drama. So I was like, right, I'm going to go to university and study drama. And I can't tell you the response I got from my mum when I told her I wanted to go, because we couldn't afford it. I'd never lived outside of London before. You know, who was going to pay for it? Would I even get in? There was all these fears, but I just went for it and, you know, got in, had an amazing time at university and ended up with a first class degree. So I guess this thinking big has really done me well in life, you know, and I continue to do that in terms of businesses and different ventures that I've kind of been involved in. And I guess when sometimes I look back at my life and think, did I really do that? And I guess when you set yourself big enough goals like that, that's kind of where you should be heading towards. And my next goal is kind of, I think I want to run an ultra marathon, and it's been on my mind for a while. And you know, at the moment I can barely run 10 miles, or maybe about 10 miles. But today I've been doing a bit of research, and I'm thinking, actually, I think I really want to. So what I want to do, I want to stop there and have a bit of a breather. And what I would like you to do is to get a piece of paper, and at the top of the piece of paper, write down what your goal is. And if you want to share, that would be brilliant. But no worries, you can keep it to yourself if you prefer. So I'm just going to come back and present to you guys so you can see what I'm doing. So am I back in the room? Let's have a look. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm back in the room. So I'm having a look at the comments here. I think there's a couple of issues with PowerPoint, possibly. Okay, so this is really interesting, looking at kind of why we think self-sabotage. Why do we do it? Why do we do it? Is it fear? You know, I mean, a lot of us will have weight-based goals. I know probably for the last 10 years, I've not had a New Year's Eve where I haven't set a weight-based goal. So this year I'm going to lose 2 stone, or this year, you know, I'm going to get into a size 14 or whatever. This is the first year that I've categorically not given myself a weight-based goal because I find it too difficult. And this guy once said, he was like this weight loss expert, and he'd lost a whole heap of weight. And he said in the past, when he'd tried to lose weight, he'd got to a certain size and other people said, oh, you've done really well, but you know, you need to stop now. And even he'd thought to himself, no, I've got down to a certain size and I look much better now, maybe I should stop. But he hadn't reached his ultimate goal. And then what happens is, because you start to have a much more relaxed attitude to weight loss, the weight starts creeping up. And I guess I can relate to that, because my weight, I guess the smallest I've been in the last 10 years is a small size 16, if that makes sense. So I've never really got down to a size 14, which I guess would be my ideal weight if I ever got there. So I have to ask myself, why is it? And for, you know, a lot of it is about self-sabotage. You know, I go back into unhealthy habits and I stop exercising. So it's really good to see some of these conversations here, and lots about wanting to run a half marathon and lose some weight. And it's really key that you can see, I mean, you can see it here plain as day. When you start setting goals that are not weight related, you know the weight's going to come off anyway, you know. And I think I wrote a blog post last year called Why Half Marathons Make You Fat, because my mindset had not changed. And because I felt like I was running all of this extra mileage, I felt like I could compensate with food. So there is a delicate balance to be had there, but really interesting. Loads of you wanting to do half marathons. Eva would like to do an ultra, and I hear they have the best snacks. So yes, we will be following whether Eva does decide to do her her ultra. Lack of commitment, easily distracted. So okay, so we're going to move on slightly. So you started to kind of put down your goals, yeah, and some of them are quite big. So, you know, wanting to do an ultra is quite a big goal, yeah. So I would say that is kind of a big fat goal. But I want to ask you the question, could your goal be bigger? And what I mean by that, so Could it be more exciting? Could it be more wow? Could there be like more of a wow factor? So for some of you, you might want to do a 5K. Okay, so 5K is great. Yeah, the first time you do your first 5K, it's a fantastic achievement, and I don't want to take that away from anybody. But in saying that, tons and tons, thousands of people have done a 5K. So you could hear people saying, well, that's not that impressive. But for you, it is, because you've never done one before. So I guess what I'm saying is, set yourself a goal, but can you make it bigger, more rich, more exciting, more like wow? Because if something's wow, you just feel excited all of the time. And when obstacles come in your way, you think, no, I'm not going to have that bit of cake, or no, I am going to get out of bed and do that run because my goal is amazing and I want to get to that goal. So that's what these big fat goals are about, is doing something outside of the norm so that it drives you to be the best that you can be, so that you don't have regrets in life and you think, oh, yeah, I did achieve that thing and that was okay, but I wish I'd gone that step further. So sometimes it could be about, I've done marathons. I've done 2 marathons. I'm training for my 3rd. I would love to do the New York Marathon. That to me would just be amazing. But then today I was thinking, where else could I do one? Could I do one on Everest? And there is one on Everest. Could I do the Loch Ness one? Which is, so there are all these amazing things that are to do with travel, but there are other kind of goals that you could do. So this is not just about races. And so I'm going to head back to the PowerPoint just to kind of keep me on track. But good to see lots of your goals coming up there. So I want you to start writing those lists down. So starting at your goal, how can I make it bigger? How can I make it more scary? How can I make it more exciting? How can I make other people think wow? How can I make myself feel wow? And just keep writing those lists, until you get to a point where your goal is so ridiculously big that it even scares you. That's kind of where I want you to be going with this. So going on to this idea of, are you being reckless? When I set myself that goal of running a marathon, weighing 20 stone, not being able to run for 30 seconds, people probably thought, God, that's being really reckless. I didn't go to my doctor to ask for permission. I didn't have a sports bra. I hadn't even got decent trainers, to be quite honest. But at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? And I know there'll be people out there that says, well, people die running marathons. And you're right, they do. So I am not advocating that kind of reckless behaviour that I did early on in my running career. But what I am saying is, I can remember a time when I did the British 10K race in central London, and I wasn't prepared for it. I hadn't done enough training. And I thought, should I go? Should I not go? I was in 2 minds. And then I asked myself, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is that I get halfway around it and give up. And I had my Oyster card. I could jump on the tube. Okay, my pride would have taken a dent, but no one would have been hurt. I'd paid the money anyway. So I think sometimes you do have to ask yourself that question, what's the worst that could happen? And then when you start to look at what the worst things are that could happen, you can start minimizing the risks. So, like people say about marathons, oh, I'd do a marathon, but I'd be so slow. Who cares as long as you got round? So it's about setting your mindset, and we are so fearful of being slow, looking silly, coming last. I think that when you've come last as spectacularly as I have, so the last time wasn't the last time I came last actually, but it was actually what made me start writing my blog. But I took part in this race and I came dead last. And not only did I come dead last, they'd packed up the water station and the finish line before I'd even got there. That is a spectacular, what's the worst that could happen? I think once that's happened to you, you start to care less, about what other people think and all of those kind of things. Always ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And when you set these goals, you might have you know, you might be thinking, well, at the moment I can only run for 30 minutes. How the hell can I think about running a marathon? But you're not just going to wake up tomorrow and run 26.2 miles. You're going to obviously have a certain amount of time between setting your goal and achieving your goal. You know, so would you consider signing up for a marathon if you could run 20 miles? Of course you would, because it's only a little bit more. Would you consider it if you could run a half marathon? Maybe, because it's double, you know. So you need to start setting milestones in between. And for some of you, those milestones will be equally as massive, because you know what it's like going from nothing to being able to run for 3 minutes. I can remember what that was like. When you can, you know, when you see that major improvement and you realise for you personally, that was a massive step, a massive milestone. So, I mean, when we're talking about massive milestones, doing a park run, for example, is a massive milestone. Taking part in Jantastic, and I hope you guys have all joined up to Jantastic, and I'm just going to put the web link on here so that you can see, just in case you haven't. So let's have a look here, jantastic.me. So if any of you have not heard about this, we're starting tomorrow. It doesn't want to send you it. Okay, so I'll just put it in the comments here. So Jantastic is a free challenge that starts tomorrow. You can run, cycle or swim. We've got a team. It's called the Too Fat to Run team. Yes, it's going to be fantastic. We've got one of the biggest teams, which is great. So it just shows you that fat people want to run. Woo! Joining a running club, that's a massive one. That's a massive, massive, massive one. I didn't join a running club for about the first 6 years, even though it was on my list of things to do. I knew if I joined a running club, I would improve. But I was scared that I'd be slow. I was scared that I'd be the fattest one there. I was scared that people would think I'm a bit of a fraud. And all of those things still exist. I'm still the slowest. I'm still the fattest. I still don't feel like a proper runner around the people that are at my running club. But when I joined that running club, my running improved, you know, tenfold, and my confidence too. For some of you, maybe you've not done any running yet. So joining something like One Big Fat Run, which is very, very inclusive. You know, you don't even have to do it in front of other people. So for you, it might be that might be a massive milestone. Buying new kit. When you start spending money on yourself, you start to take it seriously. So who got running stuff for Christmas? Give us a shout. What did you get? I got a lovely towel from my other half with Too Fat to Run embroidered on it, which was brilliant. But yeah, buying new kit, investing in yourself. You know, who would ever think that they would spend £80 on a pair of running trainers, or, you know, £40 on a sports bra? But if you want to do this properly and you want to take yourself seriously, why not? And sign up for some races. That is the best way. The best way of committing to improving is signing up to races. So when you're looking at these milestones, don't just put them in willy-nilly. You need to do your research. The more you research things, the better and more exciting each of your milestones will be. If you just say, right, I'm going to do park run, I'm going to do my local 5K, I'm going to do my local 10K, you know, you're not challenging yourself. If you say, do you know what, I'm going to go and visit a friend. I've got a friend, and this happened to me. There's a lady I know called Mary, who's part of the Too Fat to Run group. But I did meet her at a boot camp, actually, and she lives in Portugal. And she said, oh, I'm doing a half marathon in Portugal. And I said, can I come? And she put me up for the weekend, and we had an amazing time. It was a really hard race, but it was fantastic. So do your research, commit. Don't think, oh, maybe when I've seen some improvement, I'll do it. Do it. Commit to it. Book. The minute you book, it becomes real. Then all you have to do is show up. You have to show up to your training sessions, and you have to show up to your race. Once you get to that start line, there are very few things that are going to stop you. And even if things go wrong, you learn from those experiences, because that is how you're going to improve time on time. And you simply do your best. And at the bottom here, I've just put a bit of a quote. Not a quote, what do you call it? I can't remember the mathematical term, but you know what I mean. So pounds or dollars plus you talking about your goal times it by doing it with other people equals success, in my view. So a formula That's what I was trying to get to, a formula. So I'm just looking here. Joanne, leggings, tops, running jackets. Brilliant. New trainers, winter tights, and a top was a present to yourself. Yeah, you've got to buy stuff for yourself. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you treat yourself? Yeah. So what I'd like you to do, and we are going to have a look at milestones. And I know for a few of you, so Joanne and Eva, for example, have committed to running a marathon, which is a huge step for those ladies. I know that. So there are 5 of us that will be running the London Marathon in April. And actually, we only found out a few weeks ago that we were doing that. So it is a massive commitment and a leap of faith, even for myself, really, because I wasn't planning on doing a spring marathon. And we are starting to put these milestones in place. So what I'd like you ladies to do on a piece of paper is draw a horizontal line, and at the start of it put today's date, and at the end of it put your goal. Okay, and I'm going to show you how you start to set some of those milestones. So let me just go into full screen because I want to show you this properly. Okay, so massive milestones. Now, so I'm using myself as an example here, so you can see kind of how I work. Quite often I do this in my mind. I don't write things down always. I just start to plot things out. I often just plot it in my calendar and kind of do it like that. But no, we're on the wrong page here. Okay, so we're talking about milestones. So when I was offered my marathon place, I could only run, and this is the marathon that we're talking about coming up in 2015. I'd had a bit of a break with my running, and wasn't really training for anything. So my fitness had gone down and I put a bit of weight on. So in December, when I was offered these places, I reckon I could probably only manage 5K non-stop. Yet when I was offered those places, there was a bit of doubt, but I thought, no, I'm going to grab this opportunity, which seems a bit ridiculous and a bit reckless because I'm not race fit. So how do you go from being able to run 5K to running 42K, which is what a marathon is, in quite a short space of time, 3 months, 3-4 months? And the way you do it, so there's London Marathon there. The way you do it is you set a series of milestones. So this is not the same as, little steps get you to your goal. No, this is about massive leaps of faith. Because for me to get to each and every single one of these next steps is going to be huge. And that is what's going to keep me on track. If I knew I could get to London Marathon easy, do you not think I'll wake up some mornings and think, oh, I can skip my training today, or I can skip my training? And this weekend, I can tell you, I set my alarm to get up for park run, and it was tipping it down. And I'd also committed to running to park run because I wanted to up my mileage and back again. And it was just pouring, and it was freezing cold as well. But because I knew that for me to get to my next milestone, I have to up my mileage, I had to do it. And I got out there and I got in the cold, and that's probably why I'm a little bit run down at the moment. But there we are. So we're here at December 14. I took up my offer of a marathon place, and 4 lovely ladies, maybe 5, have come on this journey with me. By January, which is where we are now, I've committed to doing Whole 30, which is a nutrition plan, Jantastic, which I'm hoping that all of you guys do, and a 10K race. Now, I haven't done a 10K race since November, and I did it in 1 hour and 13, and I struggled. It was hilly, and I promised myself that I would do lots of training to be fit for the December one, and then I didn't end up doing the December one because I went out. And February, so some big goals in February. 10-mile training day, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about. So there's still got a couple of places on that if people would like to join up. And also a 10-mile race. So I had that in my diary. I've paid for it. I've booked it. I'm going to be doing it. In March, I'm going to do 2 half marathons, and I'm going to focus on my speed work. So on a Monday evening, my running club does a track night. I'm going to make sure that I'm there every week during March. And as I said, I've got those 2 half marathons to do. So the Rodin Valley half marathon, which is my local one. And also I managed to get a place on the Reading half marathon. So you can see now how you start to build up a training plan. But also in March, I'm going to schedule a 20 miler, because when you're doing a marathon, you never have to go up past 20 miles really in your training. So I'm going to put my date in the diary for that. And also I'm going to sort out my cheer squad. So I'm going to make sure that I have people out on the route along the way at different miles, so that will help me on race day. I'm not going to leave that to the last minute, because I understand how crucial having that cheer squad is. So now we're getting towards April, and by April there's not much you can do, because you've got to start tapering. So in April, I'm going to be focusing on clean eating. So really making sure that I'm eating for fuel and that no crap is entering my body. I'm going to taper and make sure that I don't get any injuries, and that I just, keep my running steady, doing lots of yoga. And during April is when I'm going to focus on my fundraising. So I'll do a little bit before, but the major part of my fundraising campaign is going to be in April. Then comes the marathon, which of course is going to be a roaring success. And then we take some time to celebrate that success and to reach my funding target, but more importantly, set new goals. There's nothing worse. You do something fantastic, you live off of it for a couple of months, and then you're like, right, now my fitness is gone. I've got to start from scratch again. So again, I'm going to take a little bit of a break there. Looking at your goal, so looking at the goal that you've written down for yourself, have you already got those milestones in place? Is that something that you're thinking about, like, right, this is where I want to be, this is where I am now, this is where I want to be? What are the things that have to happen in between there? And are they really scary? What are the things that you're thinking, oh, I know I need to do it, but I don't know, it's scary. Like, how do I get to that point? So tell me, what are the milestones that you think that we should be doing? Okay, so Eva says she has a 20 mile in the diary for Easter and a gulp. Yeah, 20 miles is tough. But let me tell you something. Actually, last year when I was training for Brighton, there's a fantastic group called Run Mummy Run, which I'm sure some of you guys are part of. And there was a conversation probably about this time where a few ladies said, look, we're all training for marathons. Should we meet up and do our 20 miler together? And at first there was a big group of ladies that were going to do it. And by the end, there was 3 of us, I think, 3 or 4 of us. And I'd never met these ladies before. We met at Waterloo Station, and we did, I did 3 laps. They did 4 laps of Hyde Park. And it was fantastic. But can you imagine how scared I was about how slow I was going to be and all of that? And the ladies were great. They kept at my speed, because by that point, 20 miles is just about the distance. It's not about the time. Shona says she's got a 15K race planned in February. Yep. So lots to talk about marathon. Anyone that is not doing a marathon, so anyone that's got a goal that isn't marathon based, what are your milestones? Can you see how setting things in between could help? And I know we're talking a lot about kind of racing here, but I know a lot of runners, a lot of ladies on my website do talk about races as their goals. But I mean, if it was weight loss, what would be the things that you have to do in the interim? And quite often people say, right, I want to lose X amount of weight, so I'm going to just break it down and have a goal of losing 2 pounds a week, which is supposed to be, quite a safe way of doing it. But surely there are other goals that you could put in along that line that will help motivate you to stick with it, more so than just saying I want to hit that £2 every week, because that's kind of boring. So things like I will go for a full body massage if I reach this target, or if just do it anyway, or I'm going to book a hiking holiday, or I'm going to have a month of not eating meat, or I'm going to, do you know what I mean? There are lots of things that you can put in this timeline that will help you get to your ultimate goal, and will help you to always have that thought in mind, because quite often we set these goals and then other things come up and it just kind of goes to the back of the pile. Mud Hero, Aquaphon, yeah. Okay, so lots and lots and lots of races. Okay, so let me just put up, I spoke a little bit about a training day that's coming up. So I don't know if you can see this at the moment. We in February on the 7th, on the 7th of February, which is Saturday, we're going to be doing a 10-mile training run in London. We've got about 16 ladies booked up. Could probably go to about 22 maybe at a push. It's going to be first thing in the morning. We're going to do 10 miles. I did a recce a couple of weeks ago, and I've got an amazing training day planned. Let me tell you, it's not just going to be simply running. We're going to have a real laugh. And then afterwards, we're going to go for lunch somewhere nice. So it's only £30 to take part. So if you want to do that, you feel free to book today. The places are going to be full up. I know they are, because there's been a lot of interest. And possibly we'll do some further ones of these, and maybe even some elsewhere in the country, because this has been really, really popular. So that's just a little offer. A little kind of bit of a prompt to one of the things that we're doing. Okay, so we're flying through, about halfway through, ladies, so I hope you're not completely bored of me. So I'm just going to continue down this line. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. I do apologise if there are issues with the PowerPoint, ladies. I'm not even sure if I can get back to it now. It's, doesn't really want to do it. Okay, so we're going to go without the PowerPoint, I think. Okay, so we're going to talk about building your support team. Okay, so before I started my blog, I didn't really have a support team. Nobody in my family ran. My partners definitely didn't run. I wasn't really part of any online networks. I think in the last 5 years, social media has improved and running has become much more kind of talked about online. So I felt quite lonely, and I was doing everything by myself. So it's really, really important that you do get the support that you need. So, you know, who are we talking about? You know, friends and family, obviously, you know, but they need to know what support looks like. So you might be saying, right, I've got this big race coming up, you really need to support me. And of course your other half goes, yeah, of course, love, yeah, I'll help. But they don't really know what that looks like. So it is about childcare, it is about cooking you dinner, it is about rubbing your feet, running you a bath, you know, and it's also about, you know, helping you with the mindset stuff. There's nothing worse than you coming back and going, oh, I just done 7 miles, it really hurt. And then your partner says, well, when the marathon comes around, you're going to have another 20 odd. That doesn't help, you know. So really spelling out to your loved ones the kind of support that you need, but not just only your loved ones, but running buddies. So sometimes we say, right, I don't have any running buddies because I don't know anybody where I live. Running clubs are great for that. And actually, you know, social media groups like our, you know, our Facebook page, or like the Run Mummy Run page, really good for saying, look, I live in this area. Is there anyone near me who might run with me? So finding those running buddies, they're not going to come to you. You've got to go and find them. But once you have them, they will be such a support for you. Who else? So virtual supporters. You know, yes, we can talk to each other on forums, but if you can get somebody that you really have a connection to, and I know this does happen on my site, that you really support somebody and you say, look, you know, if you've got problems, speak to me about it, email me, you know, let's both go for a run. You could be opposite sides of the country or even in different countries, but come on, let's every Sunday go for a long run and we'll both feed back. You know, that kind of support's really going to help. But also, do you need a personal trainer? I've never worked with one, but through my running club, there is that expertise where I can ask questions if I need to. Do you need a masseur? Oh, I'd love to have one. I probably should have one. I might actually get one. There we go. I've committed to it. I'm going to get a physio to keep me in good order for this marathon. You know, do you need a therapist? Is there stuff that's to do with your eating or to do with your self-belief? You know, who can you get to create this network of safety that's going to help you get to where you want to go? you know, because without that, you're just going it alone, and those doubts will come in, you know, those little voices that are on the side saying, oh, you're never going to do it, you're never going to do it. Yeah. So the other thing that kind of, you know, those little voices, you know, what if this happens, what if, kind of leads us really nicely on to our next point. What happens if it all goes wrong? And this brings us back to the earlier point, which is about what's the worst that can happen. But we do need to be realistic and understand that things do go wrong. My running career has not been straightforward. I ran my first marathon 5 weeks pregnant. That was unplanned for, you know. And, you know, if I'd known that I was pregnant, I wouldn't have run that race, you know, without a shadow of a doubt. And then in the run up to my second marathon, I pulled a muscle in my back. So 3 weeks before, I was having spasms and couldn't move. You know, so these things tend to happen to me. So there are, you know, some of the things that might happen to you between now and your goal. And again, I'm not talking just races. I'm just talking about whatever it is your goal is. Things that might kind of put a spanner in the works and prevent you from reaching your goal. So things like injury. You know, injuries just around the corner. One day you'll find, the next day, you know, my really good friend Natalie, who some of you may have met at the clinics, you know, we had a really amazing time running as friends. We did Tough Mudder together, and she committed to running a marathon. 2 weeks later, she tripped on one of our running our race nights with our running club, and she pulled all the muscles in her, pulled all the ligaments in her ankle. We thought it was broken, and she can't run. She can't run, so she's just out of her walking boot now and is, you know, starting to swim and stuff like that. But she was gutted because she was going to do a marathon in the spring. You know, so yes, there are things that you can do to prevent you know, exercise-induced injury, but sometimes it's not even the injuries that you get through exercise. It's other stuff, you know, falling over drunk, or, you know, picking up your kid funny, or, you know, walking into something at work. You know, these things are unexpected, you know, so the best thing to do is to expect them and think, what would I do if that happens, so that you're not completely surprised if it does. So injury, bereavement. You know, I've had a number of people die this year. My nan passed away, and one of my uncles. And it does have a knock-on effect to where you are, you know, and you start to weigh up what life is all about, and you start to think about where your running fits into that. You know, I know definitely that my running keeps me sane. It helps me to think things through. I also start thinking about my own mortality and the fact that I don't want to die. I definitely don't want to die yet, and that my running is going to help me live longer. And, you know, if somebody dies, and I've heard this a lot on my website, you know, oh, I was supposed to do this, and then a member of my family died. I don't know whether I should still do it, whether I should do it in their memory, you know. So a lot of it gets all tied up and tangled up, and only you can answer those questions. But, you know, just being aware that these things happen, I guess. Work pressures. I mean, we all know what it's like when just work becomes too much. But actually, funnily enough, running can make you really put things into perspective and to deal with the stress. So when I was training for my first marathon, I also had a job as a project manager on the Olympics. So that was during like 2011, 2012, the busiest time for me. And there I was training for a marathon as well. And it really helped me to de-stress after a busy day. And also it helped me to be able to say to my boss, no, I can't do that. You know, I've got to run, or, you know, Wednesdays is my running club night. No, sorry, somebody else will have to do it. So it's about setting boundaries, you know, to make sure that work doesn't become an excuse. You know, I'm not saying it always will be, but it's very easy for us to say, oh, I'm really busy at work at the moment, I'm shattered, I'm not going to go for that run. You know, if your goal is exciting enough and big enough and scary enough, and you've told the world about it, you're not going to let these things get in the way. You know, there's other things. You just lose motivation. You know, you miss training dates. You have a bad race. You know, all of these things will knock you off your path. But as long as you get back on it, you know, all is not lost. So you just have to keep that goal in the forefront of your mind and keep moving towards it. So you may not, you know, you may be going like this through your training path. It's not a straight road, but as long as you're keep getting back towards, you know, your milestones, setting new ones if you need to. It's really, really important. You know, and you must visualize success. You must be able to understand what that looks like. And I'm not going to go back to the PowerPoint, but what I had put together was a few photos of what other people might think success was for me. So, you know, a picture of me with my Virgin London Marathon medal, or a picture of me having finished Tough Mudder. Actually, looking back at photos from last year, there's a beautiful, beautiful photo of me and my daughter at a music festival. And to me, that was success. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but the picture, I look really happy. I'm not saying that I looked particularly slim, I didn't, but I just really look happy. And I had a great weekend that weekend. I had a weekend off of running, a weekend off of work, with great friends, and just I felt young again. I had my lovely daughter and family with me, and you know, that is what success is about. And running helps me to be that person that I was at that music festival, you know, carefree, happy, enjoying everything that life has to offer. So you need to be able to visualize what success looks like and how it will feel once you get there, and understand that crossing that finish line, that's not the end goal. The end goal is health and happiness. So, you know, the race or the goal or whatever it is you've set for yourself is going to help you get there, but it's not the be all and end all. Because if you do that, you'll be disappointed, because, you know, as soon as you finish the race, you'll want to do the next one. You know, and if you don't, you might get depressed and you know, whatever. So let's have a look at kind of what people are saying here. I've kind of gone off the plot a little bit, I think. So let's have a look here. So a little bit of talk about race pace, you know, and we do worry about that. I think we worry too much about it. I really do. So, for example, when we do our clinics, for example, we did have one in January, but I've just cancelled it. So we're going to reset the dates possibly for February. What we do is we have women of all different abilities, ladies that can walk, ladies that run, ladies that jog, and ladies that are reasonably fast. So what we do is we set them off in different pace groups, but also through the day we do something where people run in kind of twos, and the faster ones come back and join the back of the pack like that. So nobody feels like they're left behind. And on training runs, if you know you're slow, rather than saying, oh, I'm slow, I don't want to come, you let people know what pace you run. So rather than saying I'm slow, you say, I run a 14-minute mile. That's my pace. Somebody who runs an 8-minute mile can then say, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll loop back. Or they'll say, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to loop back, which makes them a bit of an arse, to be quite honest, because if you're running 8-minute miles, you should be able to run back and forward. That shouldn't be any problem for you. And actually, when I was training for the London Marathon, I went on a 20-mile run with my running club, and that's exactly what happened. Was the slower people stayed at the back, faster people would run off for a mile, then come back to make sure we were okay. And that happened all the way from East London right the way to King's Cross, all the way along the Regent's Canal and back again. So the people up front probably did close to 30 miles, if I'm being honest, but they didn't mind because they, you know, wanted that kind of endurance training. So, you know, don't worry about pace, because if you've got a good coach or a supportive group of women, you know, or men or whatever, as part of that training thing, they should be able to incorporate you in that. And actually that gives us a lovely kind of segue into what I want to finish up on. That time has gone so quick, ladies. And also just to mention, we did try to invite a number of ladies to join us for some live coaching, and it would have been really nice, because that way we would have been able to feature them. You would have been able to see video and hear audio of them, and we could give, you know, some back and forward. I feel like I've just talked at you for an hour, and for that I do apologise. I'm hoping that these become much more interactive, and that you ladies build up in confidence in this technology. And I know the technology hasn't worked perfectly yet, but in the future, particularly those of you who are going to join the Clubhouse, that this becomes much more than a one-way conversation, and that we start to have debates and discussions about this. So I'm just going to try one more time. Yes, it's working. So I'm going to try one more time to get the PowerPoint, because I just want to show you just finally just two pictures, which I'm sure you've seen already, but hey, I'm proud of them. So actually, let me go back and show you. This. So this was my thing about visualizing success. So here is my kind of what some people might think is my success, which is me finishing my marathon in 2012. It's a terrible pixelated picture. And then this is my picture of my beautiful daughter Rose at a festival, and that picture just sums up my year. And 2014 was a fantastic year for me. The new website went live, and we launched a range of merchandise. So I have nothing to complain about for last year. But this picture really sums up what success looks like to me, because I looked at that picture and thought, bloody hell, I look happy. And that's what it's about. It's about happiness. So I'm just going to finish up just for the last few minutes talking you through the next big thing that we have going on. When I launched the new website, I had a conversation with my web team about the scope for having a section of the website that was for ladies that wanted to take their running really seriously, who wanted to embrace kind of the ethos of what we're trying to do at the Fat Girls Guide to Running, and to get much more time with me, but not only me, with kind of other coaches, and to get some real expertise to further develop kind of what they're trying to do with their fitness. So over the last few months, we've been trialing a few kind of online challenges via Facebook. So we did something called Bish Bash Bosh, and then we've done our Christmas campaign. And all of those things have really helped me to shape what is going to become the Clubhouse. Now, the Clubhouse is currently being tested by 10 lovely ladies, some of you joining us here today. So from tomorrow, you'll be getting to have a look around that and testing out some of the activities that will go on in the Clubhouse. But the way it works, it's a virtual running club for plus size runners. And the idea is that you pay to be part of it. It's £10 a month, so about the price of a coffee every week. And the idea is that we set monthly challenges. There'll be webinars on specific themes. There'll be e-coaching. There'll be a number of resources. So I've been working on different resources that ladies have been asking, different issues that come up time and time again. So I've been working on kind of how-to documents and templates and training plans. So basically in the Clubhouse, in the members only area, there'll just be tons and tons of stuff that you can use. But I think the most important bit is the support. So those of you that have been taking part in our online challenges will know the friendships that are starting to emerge, and the fact that you can post anything and you're guaranteed to get a really nice response. Nobody thinks you're stupid if you post something. Nobody thinks you're showing off if you're proud. And that is what a running club should be about. And we know for a lot of plus size runners, it's hard to join a running club. It's hard. It's a big step. And even if you have joined a running club, quite often they're not perfect. So I know my running club, I love them to bits, but they're not perfect. And I wish sometimes there were more ladies like me that I could talk to about certain things. So that's the Clubhouse. It will be launching on the 1st of Feb. For those of you who are not involved in the pilot, it will cost £10 a month, and you kind of sign up for a year at a time. And there'll be lots of kind of discounts and deals and offers and things like that. And the other thing that we're looking at is this kind of interesting thing here, which is a scale that I've been working on to help runners to identify where they are with their running. Because we have ladies following the blog who have been running for years. They're still overweight, because the whole ethos of the blog is not about weight loss. It's about enjoying running at whatever size you are now. But equally, we have ladies that are part of that online community that are still not even convinced that running is for them, or that they will ever get to the point where they're fit enough to do it. So what I want to do over the next few probably months and maybe years is to develop resources that are specifically targeting these different kind of ability levels, because I don't want as the Clubhouse moves on, for the community to become about ladies that do races and that lose all their weight and become these fantastic, amazing runners. Okay, they might be inspiring people on the up, but I want to make sure there's something for everyone. So within the clubhouse and within the blog and within everything else that we do, we're going to be looking at kind of integrating this 2-factor run scale. So ladies, we've just got a few more minutes left. I don't want to take up any more of your time this evening. I just want to say a massive big thank you for you kind of giving up an hour to come and take part in this. It's been great pulling these ideas together, and I hope that you've got something from it. I mean, just what one thing have you learned, if anything, from this? What one thing will you be moving forward with? Let us know what is the big thing that you're going to change having gone away from today. Let's have a look. Much more confident about my weight now that I've joined this group. You know, it's really good to hear those things, you know, to know that we're going in the right direction. So come on, ladies, I want to know, what are your goals? Were the goals that you set at the beginning of this session big enough? Were they big enough? Were they stupid enough? And actually, on that point, the big, fat, stupid goals, a couple of months ago, I put something on the Facebook group saying, when you set goals, are they smart? And one lady come back and she said, no, mine are stupid. And this is what she said. It was in an email. She said her goals are stupid. Her goals are stupid. S for silly. Silly when said out loud to myself or to others. T, talked about. Talked about on Twitter and Facebook and down the pub, loads. U for unrealistic, even by my standards. P, posted late at night, often under the influence of wine. I, idiotic, only a fool would believe I could do it. And D, dreams, as in my dreams. I loved that. So that was from a lady who didn't for a minute think I'd use this in this webinar. But you need to ask yourself, are my goals big enough, stupid enough for me to achieve? You know, and if they're not big enough, stupid enough, scary enough, then, you know, change that. Because, you know, we only have one life. And if we use the next 10 years of our life making tiny, 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 tiny changes, by the time we become the person that we want to become, there's very little life left to lead. So, you know, make 2015 the year that you go mad, you go crazy, and you set enormous goals. Even if you don't reach them, set them. Set them, believe that you can do it, work towards that, because things are either going to make you better or make you worse. There's never really a middle ground. So it's lovely seeing these messages of thanks, and, you know, think big and go for it. I've really, really enjoyed putting over my ideas, and I hope that some of it sticks, or that maybe you just mull some of it over. You know, if over the next few days you have any questions, or you'd like me to have a look at your goals, or, you know, you're stuck for what to do, then, you know, do reach out on the Facebook group. I'm hoping that we can do some more webinars like this on different themes, and that also I can get some guest speakers in. Yeah, it's been amazing, and so just thank you. This will be available for to look back on. So if you want to do some of those exercises, I know we whizzed through them a little bit, but if you want to listen to this over and over again, we'll put the link up on the Facebook group, so you can do that. Or if you want to share it with friends, then feel free to do that. But just thank you, and Happy New Year, and hopefully see some of you soon. Mwah! Bye, ladies.